Pleasant morning, children. I welcome you all for the biology session. I think you might have gone through the first part of Unit 17, Animal Kingdom. Now, let us continue with the basis for classification. Basis for classification. We can divide the animal kingdom based on different categories. Now, let us see about the different categories. Classifications of animal kingdom is based on various fundamental features like levels of organization, symmetry, Diploblastic and Triploblastic organization, Cellum development. So based on these categories, animal kingdom are classified. Let us see about them one by one. Levels of organization. Animals are grouped as unicellular or multicellular organisms based on cell, tissue, organ and organ system level of organization. That is, a complete organism is formed from the basic cellular level. So, cellular level grouped into tissues level, tissues grouped into organs, organs grouped into organ system grouped into complete organism. So, any organism, it may be a unicellular or multicellular organism, they are grouped as cellular level, tissue level, organs, organ system and the complete organism. Next we will see about the symmetry. Symmetry is a plane of arrangement of body parts. That is, radial symmetry and bilateral symmetry are two types. Okay. In radial symmetry, the body parts are arranged around the central axis, and if the animal is cut through the central axis in any direction, it can be divided into similar halves. I will show you in the diagram. Say for example, this is the picture of the hydra. So this hydra is cut through the central axis in any direction. It can be divided into similar halves. So such organisms which gives you similar halves when cut in any plane is called as radial symmetry. It's called as radial symmetry. Example, hydra, jellyfish, starfish, etc. So these organisms, when it is cut through the central axis in any direction, it gives you two similar halves. So we call them as radial symmetry. Next we will see about the bilateral symmetry. In bilateral symmetry, the body parts are arranged along the central axis. They are arranged along the central axis. If the animal is cut through the central axis, we get two identical halves. It's clear? So when the animal is cut through the central axis, we get two identical halves. So such organisms are called as bilateral symmetry. They are called as bilateral symmetry. Next we will see about the germ layers. Germ layers are formed during the development of an embryo. They are formed during the development of an embryo. And these layers gives rise to different organs as the embryo becomes an adult. It's clear? So, any organism which are developed from the embryos, they have different layers called germ layers. Basically, we have three types of layers. Three germ layers, which is called as ectoderm, which is the outermost part of the embryo, mesoderm, and the inner endoderm. So, basically, we have three germ layers. They are ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. And based on the presence of the germ layers, they are categorized into two types. That is, diploblastic organisms and triploblastic organism. So what is this diploblastic organisms? Organisms with two germ layers, the ectoderm and the endoderm, are called as diploblastic organisms. So as I said in my previous slide, so germ layers are three types, isn't it? Ectoderm, endoderm, and mesoderm. Out of these three germ layers, if any two germ layers are present, that is, if ectoderm and endoderm are present, they are called as diploblastic organisms. Example, Hydra. And what is this triploblastic organisms? Triploblastic organisms are with three germ layers. These are organisms with three germ layers. They have three types of layers: ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. And they are called as triploblastic animals. Example, rabbit. Now, are you clear about the diploblastic organisms and triploblastic organisms? Okay, fine. Now, let us move on to the coelom. So, coelom is a fluid-filled body cavity. What is coelom? It is a fluid-filled body cavity. It separates the digestive tract from the body wall. Clear? A true body cavity, or we call them as coelom. What is called a coelom? It is called a true body cavity filled with fluid. A true body cavity or coelom is that one, it is located within mesoderm. Where it is located? It is located within the mesoderm. So based on the nature of coelom, animals are divided into three groups. So the first group is Acylomates organisms. What are these Acylomates animals or organisms? Acylomates do not have a body cavity. They do not have the body cavity. Example, tapeworm. And now, second type is Pseudocylomates. Pseudocylomates have a false body cavity. Pseudocylomates have a false body cavity. Example, roundworm. And the third type is Celomates or Eucelomates, and they are called as true coelomes. They are called as true coelomes. Example, earthworm, frog, etc. Are you clear, children? Now, animal kingdom is further divided into two categories based on the presence or absence of notochord. So again, this animal kingdom is broadly divided into two types. They are invertebrata and chordata. What are the two types? They are invertebrata, chordata, which includes prochordata and vertebrata, based on the presence or absence of notochord. Now, we should know what is this notochord. Notochord is a rod-like structure. It is a rod-like structure formed on the mid-dorsal side of the body. Formed on the mid-dorsal side of the body during their embryonic development. So, when an organism develops a notochord on the mid-dorsal side of the body during its embryonic development, except primitive forms, that is, except primitive forms in which notochord persist throughout life, in all other organisms, it is replaced by the backbone. So, this notochord is in the primitive forms. They exist in the primitive forms throughout the life, and it is replaced by the backbone in other animals. You know, other animals with backbones, the notochord is replaced by the backbone in higher organisms. So, based on the presence and absence of notochord, we classify animal kingdom into two groups. They are invertebrata and chordata. Is it clear, children? So, I think you are clear with today's topic, basis for classification. We come to the end of today's session. Thank you, children. See you in my next session.